Hello, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is David, and in this video I'm going to show you the third and final expansion of the Great Facades trilogy, Glory, that is for Sagrada. This will add some new modules to the game that you can mix and match with the base game and the other expansions. So please let me show you how it's played. First we have these grey strife dice that you can add to the game along with one of the strife boards. This is just a new color of dice added to the game, and you pick one of these boards and they will tell you the rules for placing dice in this game. So each one has its own different rules and you play each game with only one of them. So you can place these strife dice just as with the normal rules. They cannot be horizontal or vertically adjacent to each other. They cannot on spaces that need any other color, and also you need to respect the value of the die. But when playing with this style, grey dice may only be in a space with the value restriction. In this case you can place them in any color restricted space, but they must still obey all other placement restrictions. They may only be placed in the left, center or right column. You can only have one grey die in each row. Grey die may only be used in the top or the bottom row. And in this case grey dice may also not be diagonally adjacent to each other. And to put this grey die into the game you put 10 of them aside. And based on the number of players you will place a number of die also in the drawback, along with the base color dice. And each round the draft pool will always have at least one strife die, because the active player draws 2 dice per person, but then you will add one of the 10 dice that was put aside and you put it into the draft area. So each round there's always at least one grey die to pick from. And at the end of each round place any remaining dice, including strife dice, on the round track as normal. And also if you place the strife dice into your window in a way that it breaks the restriction on the strife board, that player must remove dice of their choice until the restriction is no longer broken. So from these boards, or of course any rules from your window. If you play with the strife dice, you will also add one strife tool card to the game. You select one at random and then you select the other 2 remaining tool cards as usual. So with this tool card you can change the value of your drafted die to the value of a grey die in your window. Change the value of your drafted die to the value of a grey die in the public draft pool. Or you can swap a grey die and non-grey die between your window and the public draft pool, and you must obey all placement restrictions. The same goes for the public objective cards. There are 3 that interact with the grey die. Again, you pick one of them random and then you select the remaining 2 public objectives as normal. Grey Paradise, 6 points per pair of grey die of the same value. 3 points for each column that has at least one grey die in it. And count off the unique values of the grey die, awarding 1, 3, 6, 10, 15 or even 21 points total if you manage to get all 6 values with grey dice. Then we have the Pioneer module. I like this one. This is a race to be the first player to complete the objective. You will shuffle these and put 3 into play, and the first player to achieve the condition can take this card and score points at the end of the game. The first player to fill up all top half parts of the window can pick up this card, scoring 3 points at the end. Complete the outer frame, complete the bottom of your window, complete a 3x3 grid. First player to have 3 dice of one color or 3 dice of one value in a row. First player to have 3 dice of 3 different colors each. You can score 4 points if you are the first player to place 5 dice of the same color, 5 dice of the same value. Make an orthogonally cluster of all 6 numbers. 5 points for the first player to complete an X made of 5 unique colors anywhere on your window. Make a connection diagonally from top to bottom in one color, or from left to right. Complete a plus of 5 unique colors anywhere in your window. First player to have a column of 4 unique colors and values scores 6 points, and you can even score 7 points if you have a row with 5 unique colors and 5 unique values. And you can pick up multiple object cards at the end of your turn if you met their goals. If later in the game you move or change one of your dice and therefore you no longer met the goal of this card, you still get to keep it. Only if you've placed the dice illegal after you move it and then you fail the objective, then you have to return this card to the supply. So maybe you can pick it up in a later turn or any other player. Then we also get some private objectives in the Flourish mode. At the start of the game each player will be given randomly 2 of these cards, and they will give you a task using only 2 colors. So for example 2 red and 2 yellow dice. You get 2 of them and you can keep none of them, only one, or you can keep them both. They will score you a point at the end of the game, but if you did not complete the pattern at the end of the game, you will lose those points. Also, for each flourish card you keep, you get one favor token. And so during the game you want to try to make this pattern if you keep this card using only 2 colors. And these are the patterns you have to make. These are all worth 4 points. Then we go to 6 points. You'll need to make this pattern using only 2 colors. Then we go to 7 points. Then you will need 5 dice, but still using only 2 different colors. And 8 points for these final 2 patterns. So if you take these cards, you really need to finish them at the end of the game, otherwise they will be negative points for you. And finally we have some rivalry public objectives. You can mix them in with the normal public objectives, but they have this cup symbol on them. And there are also 3 of them that use the grey die. And when scoring, each player will compare how well they achieved the objective and are awarded points based on their placement compared to other players. So it's not a set amount, you need to check with other players to decide who is the winner. The player that has a sum of all grey die closest to 10 will score 10 points, the second player will score 5 points. If 2 or more players are tied for a given place, split the points values for that many places, rounded down to all tied players. So in this case 10 plus 5 would be 15 points, divided into 2, each of those 2 players will score 7 points. The player that has the highest grey die sum gains 5 points, however the player who has the lowest grey die sum loses 5 points. 10 points for the player that has the greatest distance between 2 grey dice and 5 points for the runner-up. Here you're going to check who has the most dice of values 1, 2 or 3, most values 4, 5, 6, the most ascending or descending columns total, the largest diagonal link of the same value, the most diagonally adjacent pairs of the same color, or the most diagonally adjacent pairs of the same value. And that's what's inside this final expansion of the Great Facades triology Sagrada Glory. Grey dice that come with their own rule placements every game, including some public objective and tool cards to use with the grey dice or strife dice. Public objectives that can be scored by a player who first matches their condition. Private objectives, if you complete the pattern at the end of the game using only 2 different color of dice, you will score points, but if you took some of these objectives and you don't met their condition at the end of the game, you will lose points. And finally some public objectives that are not set, but you will check with other players how well you have scored the objective. And the number of points you get will be awarded based on the placement compared to those other players. If you have any questions about this expansion or Sagrada in general, please feel free to ask them in the comments below. My name is David, thank you for watching and hope to see you next time.